Assalamu alaikum. Sorry, I don't know how to pause and continue, so I'll just make this part two. The last thing I said was the word response. And so now we're almost finished with this Surat Saba. We have one more section to go. So we're going to start now on verse 46. Or 45. Yeah. And then that's going to, I think it's going to finish it. Let's read it first in the Arabic. قل إنما أعظكم بواحدة أن تقوموا لله مثنى وفرادا ثم تتفكروا ما بصاحبكم من جنة إن هو إلا نذير لكم بين يدي عذاب شديد قل ما سألتكم من أجر فهو لكم إن أجري إلى الله وهو على كل شيء شهيد قل إن ربي يقذف بالحق أعلام الغيوب. Let's just do this little part separately. I think I did a piece of this before we got cut off, but let's just finish up this thought because this is like one thought. Say, O Prophet, I advise you to do only one thing. Stand up for the sake of Allah, individually or in pairs, and then reflect. Your fellow man is not insane. He's only a warner to you before the coming of a severe punishment. Say, if I had ever asked you for a reward, you should keep it. My reward is only from Allah, and He is a witness over all things. Say, surely my Lord hurls the truth against falsehood. He is the knower of all the unseen. This needs a little bit of reflection on. I can't put the chandelier lights on. It's too bright and I want a studio. Maybe Allah will get me a studio. Who knows what the future holds. Okay. This is the last half of that page I started on. And it's extremely important that we understand what's going on here, the warning as usual, but the words are so beautiful here. I'm going to tell you something very interesting, a personal note. I said I wouldn't do it, but the older I get, the more I feel, why not? I might as well. I don't lie. This is all the truth, okay, what I'm telling you. I don't need this anymore. Yeah, I do, to read it. Okay. It says here, I'm not taking money. I don't want to take any money because my reward is only with Allah. And the last verse says, قُلْ إِنَّ رَبِّي يَقْذِفُ بِالْحَقِّ عَلَامُ الْغُيُوبِ. Can't appreciate this in English. When you read this in Arabic, say, my Lord is going to annihilate with the haqq, yaqdhifu, kadhafa. You know, that's interesting, Gaddafi. Remember that Libyan ruler that America assassinated? His name was Muammar Gaddafi. And his name, Gaddafi, has to do with kadhafa, to hurl something. Like, I don't know, a missile. Or maybe in the old days they had those, would they call it majanique? Yeah, some sort of a apparatus that was not electrical back in the day, but it had pulleys and weights, and then they'd put this gigantic thing that they would hurl at the enemy. Kadhafa. Allah says He's going to throw the truth at the world. Alam means world. Alamul ghuyub, invisible. So Alamul ghuyub, it means the spirit world. Which spirits? The bad ones. Now, how are you going to deny that this exists? Dare you deny that the spirit world exists? Dare you deny that there are good and evil spirits? This isn't all religious, 100%. All of them. Only what happens is the weak human brain tends to be detoured over to paying all the attention to the bad spirits because Satan whispers, and that's what he wants. He wants attention, and he wants you to pay attention to those spirits. Whereas the angels, the ones that are really going to help you, and that have all the mighty power from Allah given to them to help you, guardian angels, etc., sometimes you just don't even recognize that they're real, and they're created to help you. But people go far astray in their imaginings. Yes, imagine. Yeah. Remember John Lennon? I digress, but I can't help it. It's of my generation. John Lennon had a song called Imagine. And it was a big hit, and everyone loved it. I hated it. Why did I hate it? Because the first verse of this song was, imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us, only sky. Is that a good thing to imagine, opposite of what Allah has taught us? Imagine all the children living life in peace. You can say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope the world will join me and live as one. Shortly after he was assassinated, coming out of his own apartment building, John Lennon's imagination. He was one of the Beatles. Most of you probably don't even remember the Beatles were like the #1 boy band group in the early 60s that took America by storm, and they came out of London, and they had the best music ever too. I'm sorry that it was so good. And you know what's so funny? I use this. I always like to use the culture. I remember when I was 15, when it first came out, and I was up in my room doing my homework, and of course I would sneak on the radio so my mom didn't hear me thinking I was studying. And they said, suddenly, breaking, these are the Beatles. The Beatles just released their hit for us here in America. Here it comes, get ready. And the song was called, I Want to Hold Your Hand. You can research this if you want to do some really appropriate American culture to see where we ended up after this innocent song. It was innocent. But was it innocent? And I find it's very relevant for me as a Muslim because we're not supposed to hold hands with a man that we're not married to. And Prophet Muhammad said he'd rather have a burning hot coal than to touch a woman's hand that he was not married to, or his family, you know. So there was a verse in the song, I want to hold your hand, I want to hold your hand. And when I touch you, I feel happy inside. It's such a feeling that my love, I can't hide. And then the refrain, I can't hide, I can't hide. Oh girl, tell me something, or I'll tell you something. I think you'll understand that when I feel that something, I want to hold your hand. This destroyed the entire freshman year. There was not a girl in high school at that time who was in her right mind anymore. All you heard on the bus on the way to school, on the way home from school, when you got home from school, was this song by the Beatles, I Want to Hold Your Hand. If this isn't sihr, I don't know what is. Because the word sihr, it's translated as magic, but what it means is portraying something that's false as true, and portraying something that's true as false. And what it's meant to do is to take you away from the path. Which path? The straight path. None of these songs were about marriage. Need I say more? All right, I want to finish this now because it's just too good and there's too much. And we've already reached 10 minutes, so here's the last of Surat Saba. قُلْ جَاءَ الْحَقُّ وَمَا يُبْدِئُ الْبَاطِلُ وَمَا يُعِيدُ قُلْ إِن ضَلَلْتُ فَإِنَّمَا أَضِلُّ عَلَى نَفْسِي وَإِنْ اهْتَدَيْتُ فَبِمَا يُوحِي إِلَيَّ رَبِّي إِنَّهُ سَمِيعٌ قَرِيبٌ وَلَوْ تَرَى إِذْ فَزِعُوا فَلَا فَوْتَ وَأُخِذُوا مِنْ مَكَانٍ قَرِيبٍ وَقَالُوا آمَنَّا بِهِ وَأَنَى لَهُمْ التَّنَاوُشُ مِنْ مَكَانٍ بَعِيدٍ وَقَدْ كَفَرُوا بِهِ مِنْ قَبْلُ وَيَقْذِفُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ مِنْ مَكَانٍ بَعِيدٍ وَحِيلَ بَيْنَهُمْ وَبَيْنَ مَا يَشْتَهُونَ كَمَا فُعِلَ بِأَشْيَائِهِمْ مِنْ قَبْلُ إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا فِي شَكٍّ مريب. That's the end of Surat Saba, and now I will read to you the translation. It's a little difficult, but I'm going to try and explain it simply so you'll understand. Say, surely my Lord hurls the truth against falsehood. He is the knower of all unseen. Say, the truth has come, and falsehood will vanish, never to return. Say, if I'm astray, the loss is only mine, and if I am guided, it is only because of what my Lord reveals to me. He is indeed all-hearing, ever near. If only you could see when they will be horrified, with no escape on Judgment Day, and they will be seized from a nearby place. They will then cry, "We do now believe in it all." But how could they possibly attain faith from a place so far off from the world, while they had already rejected it before, guessing blindly from a place equally far away from the hereafter? They will be sealed off from whatever they desire, as was done to their counterparts before. Indeed, they were all in alarming doubt. Now, you can read the tafsir, or you can read the footnotes and all of this. There's a lot of controversy about Surat Saba, a lot of tafsir of conflicting. You know, whenever it deals with something like this, who's to say what it really means? Allah. You see, these words, these Arabic words, Allah says, they're mubin, they're very clear, and you can understand what they say. You can understand with your mind, intellectually you get it. But what about your heart? Does this filter in to the real place of knowledge? Can you actually get it? Now, I'm going to leave you with a very short 1 minute. When I was teaching in Egypt in the early days, before I knew Arabic, before I knew hardly anything, I took these little mini jobs now and then. And it was always, third grade, fourth grade, not much, half a day, just when my son was in school to keep busy. And of course, when I was in these always Islamic schools, all of the surrounding teachers were excited about knowing me and being my friend, and they were English teachers, so they could speak English. And you have to know that in Egypt, you don't go anywhere or see anyone unless it's planned and predictable, and you're totally watched over by certain people that have certain agendas, and then they report back to their whatever. Of course, I was oblivious, and I didn't care. Being an American, I'm not up to any, I'm not up to no good. But see, they don't know that, and they view all foreigners as threatening because, you know, the occupation, 200 years of British. Egypt has deep psychological residual suspicions of strangers. However, women, you know, it was an all-women's group, and I only taught the women and the children, and I was very innocent, right? Well, yeah, and there was one woman I really liked her best. Well, she was married to one of those, we call them mukhbirs, informers, and that was her husband, and she had 3 beautiful children, and I would visit her, and one day she said to me, you know, when I first knew you, I was afraid of you. And I even went to the, we call it police, secret police, whatever you call it. She said, I had to tell them about you and some of the things you were saying. She said, because you were, for me, nice, but weirdo scary. And you know what the man at the desk, I don't know what lieutenant or whatever they are, he said, oh, Doctora, no, don't worry about her, in Arabic. You know, ما تخافيش منها هي دماغ. And so she's telling me this. She said, he called you dimagh. And I said, I don't know what dimagh means. What does that mean? She said, it means you have a very big brain, and I shouldn't worry about you. Well, here's the word dimagh, twice. It says, hurl the dimagh at the unseen world to crush it, of these evil spirits that are coming down and trying to influence the world. Well, I certainly hope so, because I am so fed up. I have less than 2 months of being 76 years old. And you know, when I first came to Egypt, some foreigners corralled me and they said, you have to know that these people really believe in jinn more than they believe in Allah. And I said, huh? Well, I'm brand new. I probably got there 3 months before. And I went to a foreign wives breakfast, and my husband didn't want to bring me. I said, oh, I met these really nice ladies. He said, no, you don't want to go there. All they do is complain about Egypt. I said, no, I want to go. You know, she's really nice. And that, he was right, 100% right. But when they said that to me, I thought, oh, so they believe in spirits? They believe that these jinn can harm them or help them? And these women said yes. Their faith is stronger in the jinn than it is in Allah. Well, those women were right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.